Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have from Rhode Island, we have Ann Watt with us. And Ann is a former nurse. And she was a CCRN. She worked on a cardiac floor. Welcome, Ann. Were you on the cardiac floor at UMass?
I was, Jan.
You were?
That was the start of my career, and I loved it.
Well, I started going to UMass as a patient. And, well, 87, 88, 89, major surgery. You already left in 91. In 93, first major surgery. You must have known a lot of the doctors there.
I probably did at the time, although, everyone moves around within the state. It's a small community, but I'm sure a lot of the doctors probably aren't there anymore. They may be retired by this point.
If they build any more buildings, I don't know where they're going to put them. On top of the other ones? Have you seen it lately?
I
should go over there. It's packed. And the medical school is now the Chan, the UMass Chan, CHAN.
Oh, well.
He must be a Chinese gentleman, probably gifted a lot. Medical school. We've got that. Of course, we've got Life Flight. We've got, I don't know how much research. We've got the ACC building right beside where you park. The VA is now over there.
Oh, wow.
It is a city unto itself now. But we are very lucky. Milford Hospital up the street has joined in a little bit, joined forces. I think UMass can help them, help bring them up a little bit more, and send more info and things their way. That's good because this is a smaller area, although getting bigger, and I think they could use enough help. That would be great. Now, Ann has written a book called, get this, When Being a Nurse Was Fun. Tales from My Life as a Nurse. Did you do that cover yourself?
I didn't. Someone designed the cover for me, although it was based on my ideas of I wanted just the legs instead of the typical face with the face mask or the scrub pocket.
Did you ever wonder what happens in an ICU at night? Yeah. I'll probably try to get out and go home. Is being a nurse in a hospital like what you see on TV or the internet? Besides taking excellent care of their patients, nurses enjoyed humor at work. Well, I hear them laugh all the time. Before the COVID pandemic, playing jokes on each other or finding hilarity in absurd situations, we devised ways to amuse ourselves while performing our duties. This is a glimpse, and it goes on, glimpse into what a nurse does. Faces. Were you working every day, Ann?
Oh, I wasn't working every day, no. I worked 12-hour shifts, though, overnight.
Oh, my God, the overnight one. Now, I've been in the ICU to visit a friend who had pancreatic cancer and had had surgery. But that's at Memorial. The ICU is at Memorial. That ICU. UMass, the main one, Lake Avenue, does have an ICU, too. They do heart surgeries over there at the main campus. That's probably where you would be right now.
That's probably where I would have been. I aspired to work in that unit, but many years ago, you had to get some basic experience first, and then you could think about going into Life Flight or working in one of the ICUs.
Did you ever want to go to Life Flight?
I did, and that's one of the first stories in my book is called Life Flight Dreams. I absolutely wanted to be a Life Flight nurse. I would watch the helicopters fly in on my lunch breaks. And
what stopped you?
Well, I wanted to be a trauma nurse, but I decided that I was going to school for a Bachelor of Science degree, and by the time I graduated, all the positions on that floor were filled. So they said, well, you were a student nurse intern here. You have a choice of working on either the cardiac floor or a neurology floor.
Yeah.
So I just chose cardiac, and I loved it so much I just stayed there and never went back to the trauma area.
Well, are you talking about the ear, nose, and throat? What do they call that? Not endocrinology. Oh, ear, nose, and throat. I can't think of the word, but that's on, it seems like a lot of things are on the second. You get on the elevator and it says, level A, level B. It's like someone's speaking to you. It's a riot. Now, all right, so you wanted to go Life, Flight, Dreams. I want to see if she remembered what she wrote.
I do, absolutely, because if you're going to ask me about that memorable patient of mine who made such an impact on me.
What happened?
Oh, she was a young woman who was in a terrible car accident. Like I say in my book, she was probably, she was a passenger. The driver was probably speeding on those S-curves through Worcester, and she was banged up pretty badly. You know, her arm was broken, it was all pinned together, she broke her jaw, her mouth was wired shut. I mean, she was just a mess. And she had a long recovery time, and they assigned her to me every shift that I worked.
Yep.
And she was young, and she was just so full of anger, and she was a challenging patient, and I was just like, oh, is this what nursing's going to be
How
like?
long
I
was she in the
questioned-
ICU for?
She wasn't in the ICU at that point. I was a student nurse, and
Yeah.
she had already been transitioned to the just the general trauma floor that was located
I
on
bet
2
you helped
East.
her a lot, though, with your personality.
Maybe I did. I don't know, but I remember a day that I was walking into work. She had been discharged from the hospital, and whether she was coming back for an appointment or she made a special trip there just to see me, I remember her mother driving her, and she's hanging out the window yelling, Ann! And she caught my attention. My shift was about to start, and I was like, it was her. It was this girl named, I called her Harley, because I've changed names to protect the innocent in my book.
Sure, yep.
And she ran out and she gave me a huge hug, and she handed me a note saying that because of the care that I provided, she wanted to become a
She'll never
nurse.
forget you.
I hope she does it, and I hope that somehow, some way, this woman will find me and tell me her story, and hopefully she's had a long and beautiful
And happy
career
life.
as a nurse.
And happy
I
life.
hope she stuck with it.
She wanted to be a nurse?
She did want to be a nurse
Was
after
you the
that.
influence on that?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
See, I think, all right, I got her on that. That's a good one. Boy, you wouldn't recognize when you left. By the time you left, boy, things have really changed. The cafeteria is enormous.
Is it?
Oh God, I don't know how many cash registers they've got. When you come in the main entrance, not only do you have the Ask Me thing, like you come up to someone and say, I don't know how to get, and they can help you. They've got, I never use it, but these, I don't know why they put computer things into something to check in on a computer. I'm like, get out of here. I just walk in, they've got Dunkin' Donuts, and then you walk, I think you'd be surprised. The emergency room, you better pack your sleeping bag.
Oh, gee.
You think you wait a long time at Milford, boy, you're going to be spending half your life over it. They're terrific there, don't get me wrong, but some hospitals have closed down, you've heard. And we are getting now people, I think, from other areas, and it is absolutely packed. Now, again, we are talking with Ann Watt. Ann, before we go any further, how can they get a copy of your book or talk to you?
My book is available on major internet retailers. You can purchase it on Amazon and on BarnesandNoble.com. And there are several other independent bookstores located in the area that also carry a copy of it, such as Book Lovers Gourmet in Webster and Tatnut Bookseller in Westboro.
We are going up to see Deb Horan at Book Lovers Gourmet on Friday.
Oh, great.
I
great.
ordered a book from a long time ago about, do you remember Jerry Williams in WBZ or in WRKO?
Oh, wow. That's going back ages for me.
I ordered that, and she got it at a good low price for me, so I'm
Okay.
going to pick that one up. Yeah, I like her store. You've spoken there, haven't you?
I have. I had a little presentation,
Yeah.
I think last spring sometime.
What's coming up? Where are you going to be next?
I'm going back to Tatnut Bookseller on November 16th, I
Westboro?
believe, in Westboro.
Do you go in the big room, or do you sit out front?
The first time I was there, I was in the event room, but this time I'll be up front and have all 3 of my books for sale.
That's great. You know, I think you're not a beginning author, but a lot of the newbies are a little nervous about that big room. until they're ready to give a presentation, which you obviously are. They kind of want to stay up close next to the cash register people because they feel safer up there, people coming in and everything, and they don't have to. You worked, from 89 to 91 at UMass Medical. Then you and your husband moved to Rhode Island.
My husband was already in Rhode Island. He transplanted me. We grew weary of the commute back and forth
Oh, okay.
between Worcester and Lincoln.
And so you ended up at Miriam Hospital for 20 years.
Yes.
Which department?
I worked in the ICU for the majority of the time. They did some construction at the Miriam Hospital. It used to be a combined ICU and cardiovascular ICU. They built 2 new units. One was med-surg and the other was just open heart surgeries and related procedures.
Did you like it?
I absolutely loved it.
You
and
loved it.
The only reason that I left there was because of the Lifespan merger at the time.
The what?
There was a Lifespan merger
Yeah.
between Rhode Island Hospital and Miriam Hospital. And because of union versus non-union issues, I would have been demoted from having 20 years experience to being placed in a 0 to 5 category. So I decided I would go off on a tangent and try something completely different, which was a EICU, an electronic ICU.
An electronic ICU.
Yeah, we were considered the second set of eyes. I went and I worked in Massachusetts again for Stewart Healthcare.
At where?
I was working in Westwood, Massachusetts.
Okay,
It was an
Westwood.
off-site building that housed the EICU facility, but we were able to interact with nurses in all of Stewart Healthcare's ICUs within Massachusetts. So it was a pretty interesting job.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, she did a beautiful job with her table of contents. I look right down at it and I crack up when I see some of this stuff. Insulin and laxatives.
Oh,
What
yes.
is that? Tell us. I know in the chapter, but tell us about that.
That was the period where I think I was finally burnt out. I had 2 patients, and the doctors were making rounds, and they prescribed insulin and laxatives for both of them.
In the same room?
No, there were 2. All the ICU rooms were private rooms.
Okay.
But they were next to each other, and both of the patients had some kind of infectious disease, so they were on isolation. So I can relate to the nurses who were taking care of COVID patients, where you have to gown up and mask and unmask and wash your hands 1,000 times a night and go from one room to the other. And I was like a little ping pong ball all night long, and the thing that pushed me over the edge was after the doctor that ordered it laughed in my face, and he said, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on camera, but he said, well, someone's going to have a shitty night tonight.
There you go. That must have really made you angry.
It did. He thought he was hilarious,
That was
but
not,
it was not the right
he
time.
was
and
trying
place.
to be. But for the work you do, that would be like telling a surgeon, I guess you're going to have a real bloody afternoon, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, real respectful. So you knew after that, I've had enough.
I just needed a change, and I did try something different.
Did you ever go to the emergency room?
No, I didn't. That was my cup of tea.
Now, Christmas. Oh, so what's that like as a nurse in the hospital at Christmas?
Well, it's something, basically, as they say, you just suck it up and do it.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. You don't become a nurse if you're not willing to work some night shifts. I chose to work night shifts. I love that shift.
From what, 11 to 7?
Nope, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Oh!
Or depending on which hospital I worked at, sometimes they were 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. But generally 7 to 7. But when you're a nurse, you know you're going to work weekends, you're going to work holidays. Sometimes you can find someone to swap a shift with you. We all had our favorites around the holidays. Some people had their traditions on Christmas Eve, others had it on Christmas. The young nurses like to go out on New Year's Eve, so sometimes they trade off Thanksgiving for the people with families. So we usually worked it out. No one was happy 100% of the time, but yeah, I worked my share of Christmases, so now I'm enjoying having
Freedom!
it all off. Yes, freedom. Setting my own schedule.
Let me see. Husbands and wives.
Yes.
What happened there?
That was a little sticky situation where I had a patient in the ICU. He had a breathing tube in, so he couldn't answer my questions about his visitors. But there was one woman who would visit him and claim to be his wife, and there was another woman who actually was his wife. And we thought it was odd. They never crossed paths somehow until one day they were both in the waiting room at the same time.
And they didn't know each other?
And they didn't know each other. So when we called out, Mrs. Moretti, you can come and visit your husband now. And both women stood up at the same time. And the true wife of the patient just glared her down, and we said, "Oh, we better call security because there might be a cat."
You think she knew?
She may have had some inkling that there was somebody else on the scene, but
how did they handle that? Going in the room together to see them?
They didn't. We
They
only
separated.
allowed the true wife to
Okay.
go in, and by the time she was done visiting, the other one had left the
When someone
area.
is intubated, anything. What is it? Is it like? I mean, how do they not gag? How do they get it?
Well, they will gag if they're not medicated, or they'll try to like bite down on the tube. So they definitely need some kind of medication as they're intubated, unless they're in a coma for some reason. Then they won't sense that the tube's going down. But we medicate patients so
Were
that
you
they're
ever in
comfortable.
surgeries? With the doctors ever in surgery?
No, not except for being a student nurse and observing procedures. Yeah.
Did you
once in a
know
while.
when you were a kid growing up that you wanted to be a nurse?
I did. My father was diagnosed with cancer of the larynx when I was 9 years old, so I spent a lot of time accompanying him to his doctor's appointments, and my mother would take me to visit him when he was in the hospital. And I was just an observant child, and I'd watch the nurses and see what they're doing, and it was interesting for me. I was never squeamish about anything that I saw them do. I mean, they kept it low key because a child was in the room, but I felt comfortable in the hospital environment. So I consider being a nurse. I had a first aid class when I was in junior high school, and I excelled at that. It was something I enjoyed, and I was good at it too.
Did you go to college for that? A nursing college?
I went to Fitchburg State College.
Yeah.
That's where I received my four-year degree.
I know that we have a Blackstone Valley Tech school up here, and you can learn. I believe nursing. You can learn that there. Things are different.
Yeah,
for kids
they're
now.
still 2-year programs. I think there are even still a few diploma 3-year programs out there.
Yeah.
And I think LPN nursing has made a little bit of a resurgence, just because there's a desperation for staff nowadays. And LPN nurses had a lot of experience. They just couldn't pass medications. I don't know if any of those rules have changed, but someone informed me that there are LPN schools out there still.
We're talking with Ann Watt, and she wrote, "When being a nurse was fun, tales from my life as a nurse." Ann, again, how can they reach you? Maybe have you come and speak?
Thank you, Jan. I have a website. It's AnnWattAuthor.com. That's ANNWATT author.com, and on that website you can find more information about me. It lists my books. There are a couple of book reviews listed, and there's a page that has all my upcoming events, at least the public ones. A few of the private ones have not been listed, and it also provides a link to Facebook to my Ann Watt author page, so you can also see more photos and information about me.
Now, you're going to be at TATNA next week, is it?
The 16th.
The 15th.
Is that the 15th? It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday.
Saturday.
Because the 9th, I think, is a Saturday.
I don't
9
know.
and 7.
Okay, anyway, next Saturday. The 1 to 2 or the 1 to 3?
I'm
or
doing
3?
11 to 2.
Okay. Besides having gone through what with your father, did your father make it?
He died when I was a sophomore in college, so that's actually how the book starts out. Is
Yes,
about,
I know. I want people to know
not to
that
give too much away.
she was just a teenager when her father passed away, and had you been a nurse by that time, would that have made it easier to handle or not?
I don't know. All I knew was that I did not want to pursue oncology as a specialty.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm seeing with that and pediatrics, especially pediatric oncology. I give those nurses a tremendous amount of credit because
No.
the patients that I took care of were adults. With open heart surgery, many of them were in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you always want an excellent outcome.
Sure.
But if there wasn't one, at least you can console yourself with the fact that they've lived their life.
Yeah, they did a good job. Yep, they made it.
Versus someone who is a child and has cancer and
yeah,
their
that
lifespan's
really,
limited. It's difficult.
Oh, as I was starting to say, what she went through with her father, now she just brought this in today, the anguish of Alzheimer's, the years of mom's dementia. What happened? How old were you? What happened?
My mother was diagnosed with dementia with Alzheimer's disease when she was 75.
Only 75?
Yes, and I feel as though she probably had it for a few years prior to that.
Yeah.
But I was too close to the situation and I didn't recognize the warning signs, even though I've taken care of patients with Alzheimer's and dementia and ICU psychosis in the past. I just made excuses for her losing objects and forgetting things until it came to a point where it came to a point where I couldn't deny what was happening to her, and she lived for 15 years with that disease. So
do you know, I think there are a lot of people out there, that we do that. Where did I put my keys? And then we'll go into a room, right?
Yeah.
Why did I just come in this room? And then you try to think of something really quick, and then we start getting scared, like, uh-oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. I had a doctor tell me, like, relax. It's you'll know. Everyone will know when it happens.
I think when people are so used to multitasking, you're doing 100 things at once, and that's why your brain gets a little boggled.
That's what I
and you
tried to tell my
forget.
husband. I said, I have so much on my head, and then I get so anxious about it. Like I asked him a question 3 times, the same question. And the other one she brought in was believe in God and not coincidence. What is this one?
That is a Christian inspirational. It's a faith-building book. It's not meant to convert anyone from any other religion. It's a true story that's based on many experiences in my life and how I just grew in my faith. And I just want to give the readers out there something positive to think about and maybe reconsider events in their own lives.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we learn from bad things that happen to us and it makes us better people in the long run.
Yes.
And the good events, we can count our blessings when they occur.
You include your medical pass with this too. Run over by a bed.
That's how it started. 3 different events collided, and I think that's when God knew the time is right for us to, change your life a little bit. And
What's
bring
this about a
this-
snake?
Oh.
I'm not in the hospital. No.
No. No, that the book starts with that nursing incident, but it's not a nursing book. It's about just different stories. But I have strange dreams about snakes, which I think people might analyze and call them something else. But
You like snakes?
I do not like snakes
What?
at all. I do not like snakes at
I
all.
hate them.
But if that's a dream that you're going to remember, you'll remember one that has a snake in it.
What happened? How did it get in your life?
The snake?
Yeah.
The snake was a metaphor for a person that was in my life.
Okay.
And the
so-
dream was about staying away from the proverbial snakes.
I thought you kind of ran into one, okay.
No. Oh, I have. While I was hiking out in California, I've run into rattlesnakes, and to make every hair stand up on your body when you see one that's a little bit too close for comfort.
Greenfield, Mass?
Greenfield, Massachusetts. I grew up in South Deerfield.
And where?
In South Deerfield.
I grew up in Wilbraham.
Oh, okay.
So
the home of
Deerfield.
friendly ice cream.
Which high school did you go to?
Frontier Regional.
Did you ever hear of Minnetonka Regional?
I've heard of it. I'm not sure.
Our team
exactly
probably
what it
did
is,
play your teams. Oh my gosh,
It's a small world.
it is a small world. Deerfield is. Are you closer to the New York border?
I'm not quite in the Berkshires. Deerfield hugs the Connecticut River.
Okay, it's closer to that
It's
one.
about 10 miles from UMass.
Wilbraham is like 5 minutes from Springfield. So that was. So she's written, "Believe in God, not coincidence." Was this the most recent?
The Alzheimer's book was the most recent.
Okay, about her mom. The Anguish of Alzheimer's, The Years of Mom's Dementia. And did you draw that of your mom?
I didn't. I described once again to the illustrator what I wanted for a cover,
Yeah.
and she found that image. I also had given her a photograph of my mother, and I think it kind of looks like her a little bit.
It looks very real. It doesn't
Yes.
look contrived.
No,
Yeah,
no.
it looks.
She did a good job with the cover.
What would you suggest? Let's say we've got some of the gals out there thinking of being a nurse, and maybe they want to go to BBT or this type of thing. We've got about 5 minutes left. What would you suggest that they need in their personality to really cut it?
Oh boy. Well, nurses are dedicated, so if you're one to give up too easily, oh boy, that's a difficult question to answer. I just think you need to have compassion for other people,
Yeah.
not be afraid of the sight of blood and other little squeamish things that I write about in the book.
Yeah. Blood doesn't bother me. The rest does.
The one thing I'll say is if you're someone who's going into the profession just because you have the perception that nurses make a lot of money,
Yeah.
then you're probably going to be miserable every day of your career.
Yeah.
It's something you have to want to do. And the wonderful thing about nursing is that there's so many specialties, or we always need excellent nurse administrators, we need nurses who work in clinics, so it's not just you want to work in a hospital, there's so many avenues. But what I did when I was younger was I volunteered at a local hospital.
Yeah.
The typical candy striper
Yeah,
type of
sure.
thing. I don't know if they allow a lot of students to do that nowadays, to volunteer
I
on the actual
volunteered.
force.
Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah.
But I think that's a great way to get some experience and see if it might be for you, or tag along, shadow a nurse for a shift or two.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many things that you can do, but don't go by what you see on TV.
No.
Because
Would you advise somebody to talk with someone like you, who's been there, done it, and can really be straightforward?
absolutely, and that's one of the things that I love about doing in-person events is that people have the opportunity to ask me questions.
Right.
And during my presentations, I always open it up to questions from the audience. So I welcome any questions about
How
nursing.
many places are you thoroughly booked?
No, I have a lot of flexibility. Weekends seem to go first, but I'm willing to travel throughout New England.
So you
for
find
events.
your own places.
I find my own places, but I'm also a member of the Association of Rhode Island Authors, and that
Steve
provides.
do you know Steve Porter?
He's my publisher.
Oh,
I publish through Stillwater Books.
he's been on the show.
Oh,
He's been,
okay.
he's done a book himself or two.
Yes.
And he runs that big December Authors Expo.
Yes, and I'll be
You
there
gonna be
as
there?
well.
Oh.
Absolutely.
It's like
at the Crown Plaza in Warwick.
It's like when I first went into the one when it used to be in Cranston. Everybody was. We're going to have to wrap this up. I mean, all the authors were like, it was filled.
There's
I
at
was
least
overwhelmed.
120 authors that
I was
participate each year.
Overwhelmed. Just
Yeah.
I've never seen. You can't
But
possibly.
any genre you want.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
can't meet them all. That's what makes me so sad. I mean, I'm like, if I walk by this table, I'm just looks like I'm
But that's when
rejecting.
you grab the bookmark or the business card with the information and you follow
I know, but I
along.
feel like I'm rejecting that person, and I'm not. We got to go. Anne, you got another book coming?
I'll be working on a nursing sequel, and I also hope to write a book about hiking, which is one
Hiking?
of my passions, yes.
You gotta let us know. Let me know, and we'll have you on when you
Oh,
get it done. You think
okay.
maybe in the new year?
Sure.
Sure, we'll have her on again. And I love the time when being a nurse was fun. Does was mean you didn't think it was fun anymore?
It can still be fun. It's more fun when you look at it in hindsight.
Yeah.
The day-to-day can be a grind, but that book is really a tribute to nurses and everything they do and your colleagues. So hopefully nurses can reminisce and will enjoy reading
And
my
over
book.
at Upton Library, I think you left a copy.
I
of
left a copy of each of those
all
books
of these,
there.
so you can go on over there and take a look and read it. Thank you for being with us, Anne.
It's been my pleasure, Jan.
We'll see you next time on Be My Guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. tomorrow's even closer than it seems.